Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Starting out here with Tin Fins versus Food Chain, and right out of the gates, it's going to be a Entomb for Griselbrand. Deathrite Shaman on the other side of the board. That threatens to eat that Griselbrand, but it's actually going to get Shallow Graved before that Deathrite is even online, and right out of the gate, drawing 7 cards. And Food Chain starts looking at the sideboard. This one's almost certainly over. Tin Fins does not fumble often from 20 life. Going to draw 21 cards up front. And part 2 here is recurring, or at least getting a Children of Korlis into play. In this instance, looks like just casting it, which seems fine. Back up to 27. Going to be able to activate again to draw 21 more cards. 42 cards drawn in a turn. I mean, it is a card game. Cards are generally a good thing. And this deck draws more than just about any of them. Under perfect situation, then this appears to be exactly that, just a perfect situation. Plenty of dark rituals. Of course, discard a plenty in hand there. There's Unmasks, Thoughtseizes. When you're drawing this many, you're going to get your fair share. And the coast is most certainly clear, though. Griselbrand coming in off of Shallow Grave was enough of an indication that the shields were down. Certainly you're going to stop that when possible. And Living Wish, cracking Lion's Eye Diamond, going to go ahead and discard about, looks like 40 cards. And then getting Lab Maniac, cast him off of the floating Lion's Eye mana. The floating mana off of Lion's Eye Diamond. And activate Griselbrand 1 or 2 more times for the insta-kill. So there is an example of Deathrite Shaman just not quite being fast enough. He does provide a lot of interaction with the graveyard, but it is a lot slower than some of the dedicated cards like Surgical Extraction, Tormod's Crypt, Fairy Macabre. And sideboarding here, going to be looking at Silent Gravestone. Card has proven to be quite strong versus Deathrite Shaman. In the instances where you are not able to just bring back Griselbrand way before their Deathrites are active, it does give you a nice buffer there, and it also slows down Deathrite, stopping them from using the ramp ability. Deathrite serving a lot of functions in the matchup. Just protecting your graveyard is not really enough. You're still not thrilled if they've got Deathrite and can continue to drain you with the 2 life and continue to accelerate their mana. It's not just about protecting Griselbrand. The card does a lot of rolls, and shutting down all of those rolls is pretty desirable when you're able. That is a thoroughly unkeepable hand. Looks like almost able to cast Griselbrand on turn 4 or 5, which is certainly not where Tin Fins wants to be. Hard casting Griselbrand probably wouldn't even be plan D. Though it is a bit more doable out of the sideboard with Living Wish, since you can crack your Lion's Eye Diamonds in response. So that could be a potential line. A little less far-fetched would be to have a few Lion's Eye Diamonds, Living Wish, respond, crack them, and then cast Griselbrand with the floating mana. Of course, more often you'll have better targets in your sideboard for the Living Wish. And there we go, Silent Gravestone to counteract that Deathrite Shaman. And this time that's going to draw a Force of Will. So Deathrite's still online. And Entomb a little too late here. That Deathrite active, it's going to be a dangerous game. Trying to get Griselbrand back from the graveyard. And Vampire Hexmage along with a Lion's Eye Diamond. Baleful Strix coming down. Children, a largely dead draw there. And there's the Living Wish. And if that resolves, we've got Dark Depths. Question, make a 2020 now or later? Some of the thought process there involve what type of lands your opponent might be able to draw to interact with you. Cards like Wasteland will actually stop you from being able to use Vampire Hexmage to create your 2020, whereas cards like Karakas will really punish you for having made it in the first place. Karakas not going to be a problem once you go ahead and get Sylvan Safekeeper out of the library, out of your sideboard with Living Wish. Karakas can be beaten, but if you've already made the 2020 and they bounce it with their Karakas, it's going to be really hard to rebuild. So it's a question of the patience, the wait on making your 2020 versus the potential to get blown out by a card like Wasteland. I'm going to assume Brian not on Wastelands at this point. And there's Food Chain. And we have officially entered the danger zone. This is a very, very dangerous deck once Food Chain gets on board. Has the potential to do infinite damage. With Walking Ballista, if he's playing that, the other option is Emrakul to take an extra turn. And hoping for a passed turn here and not something really problematic. And just casting another Deathrite. So gonna make a 2020. That Baleful Strix, ready to die for the cause. And looking at Entomb, now the shields would in theory be down here in game 1, would be able to grab both Griselbrand and Unburial Rites. But Unburial Rites does often get sideboarded out when you're bringing in your Silent Gravestones. Silent Gravestones does shut down Unburial Rites. It's actually the only animate spell that does target the graveyard in the main deck. In the sideboard, you also have the Loyal Retainers. And facing down near lethal here. So Baleful Strix could be eaten by the Deathrite Shaman, leaving Brian at 1. Children not going to be able to get through. It is just a 1/1. Brian thinking through. Possibilities here. So it looks like he's got 4 mana. Each one of those Deathrites represents 3 mana, essentially. They can tap for a mana, each be exiled for 2. So it looks like he's got 10 mana available. And Fierce Empath, that'll add an additional mana. So he'd go up to 11 mana. See there some of his sideboard options. Now I saw Tidespout Tyrant. That would potentially be very spicy here. But he'd need another spell to cast in order to bounce that Merit Lage. So that would be very good. And he's going to grab an Emrakul. Going to be a bit tricky to get that into play here. It looks like he only had one other card in hand. Looks like he has access to 10 mana so far. Even if it's another creature, bump it up to 11. Oh, but filthy. There's the Gurmag Angler. course, Gurmag allows you to delve instead of paying full value, so this is a type of super dark ritual here. Discounted Gurmag Angler actually going to allow him to get Emrakul into play and take this game right back. And that is a hardcast Emrakul, so extra turn trigger, and he is sticking around. This is not like some type of sneak attack where Emrakul is going to go away. He will keep swinging until the job is done, and he does exactly that. So Brian picking up game number 2 here. Tying it up 1 apiece. That really looked like Marit Lage was going to be able to take it down. But Emrakul getting the job done. Interesting for all of those deck builders out there playing around with Food Chain. In that instance, Emrakul a lot better than Walking Ballista would have been. A lot of people have switched over to the Walking Ballista plan because it's infinite damage anyways, and it's also a reasonable utility creature that is castable even when you don't have infinite mana. In this instance, it looks like Emrakul was in fact castable even without infinite, and was the reason why that game was won. So Brian essentially winning that game with his pre-tournament prep, deciding to play Emrakul, would not have actually been an option if he was still on the Walking Ballista plan. Tough to say how that plays out on average, but certainly for that game, Emrakul the right call. And leading out on the play here with a keep of 7 cards, Pithing Needle, naming Griselbrand, and going to Entomb. Now, if I'm able to Exhume him, turn 2 7/7 lifelink, still fine. And Surgical on the other side. Brian prepared here with Surgical Extraction, and that is problematic. Losing 1 from hand as well, so Brian not even losing out on any type of card disadvantage here. Getting rid of a Griselbrand from the graveyard and the hand, and effectively countering that Entomb. So this Surgical, kind of a 4-for-1, because it stops the original Entomb, gets rid of all the Griselbrands, counters Exhume, and gets a card out of hand. I mean, that is a massive amount of card advantage there generated for 0 mana, just paying that Phyrexian black with the 2 life. And this is very grim now. Tinfins with just a couple of cards left in hand. And now it's on to the Dark Depths plan. It's either that or Living Wish is still an option. Living Wish will allow for Griselbrand to still be part of the equation. 1 more mana and it could actually allow for Living Wish and then a hard cast Griselbrand. Lion's Eye Diamond able to be sacked in response to tutor effects. Very similar to Black Lotus in that situation. And there is the Silent Gravestone. Not an ideal draw here with Brian not having Deathrite Shaman on board. And Manipulate Fate. Setting up a exile zone that is not quite an insta-kill, but very close to it. He's able to find a Food Chain. And gonna go ahead and crack an LED just to cycle off this Silent Gravestone. Trying to draw some cards here. And gonna Entomb. Oh, it's a little complicated. Looks like Entomb in response activate the Silent Gravestone. And have set up... Oh, and drew perfect. But he has the counter anyways. So taking a low percentage play there, making the best of it. Drew into exactly what was needed there with Exhume. And that would have been able to get a Vampire Hexmage into play, making all future Dark Depths and Living Wishes very live draws, and instead now lost both Griselbrand and Vampire Hexmage to Surgical Extraction back to back. And there's the food chain. And it looks like next turn, infinite mana is going to be available, starting with the Eternal Scourge into Mist Hollow Griffin. Oh, interesting. Starting out with Baleful Strix first. So slightly slowing down the clock. But totally doesn't matter here because he's got the Fierce Empath. And that's going to let him tutor up Emrakul, cast it. And everybody's coming to the party next turn. This is insta-lethal. There we go. 15 plus 10. 25, easy math, and well done by Brian. They're showing both some good deck building and the power of Food Chain. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.